You're on a meeting. Yeah.
Namahane mai kia ora katoa, mana o e rupana, can we please stand for Toki? Muri ake whakaronga hoke. As always, onwards and upwards. Welcome, councillors, staff, media. Great to see you here. I have an apology from Councillor Kennedy. I have a Zoom from Councillor Martin for one item and then probably an apology. Has anyone heard from Dane?
He was coming.
We're just going to have to let it roll, and if no one knew that it was officially a late apology. But need someone to move them, please. Move Councillor Felt, second to Councillor Finch. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against. Now I have a couple of late items, urgent business. Firstly, there is a speaker coming to speak to the item number 2, which is Cluta Health Incorporated. Unfortunately, he's got a dentist appointment, which I thought, well, if you go to the dentist, we'll go easy on you. So somewhere around 2:30, so 2:30 and then the next item after that, I'll take agenda item number 2, and ex-councillor, ex-deputy Hamish Anderson will be here to assist us with that one. I also have an urgent business late item and public excluded. Details will follow. Does anyone else have any urgent business or late items? If not, I'll move those 2 that I have. Can someone second it, please? Seconded, Councillor Herbert. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Any declarations of interest from anyone? No public forum. That's Kelly, so there is no public forum. Straight over, please, if we can. And even though it wasn't the late item, because it was the official agenda, it was a second agenda. Is everyone working off the right local water done well. That we're working off that one. Well done. There's a letter that goes with it. I'll hand over to David if I can, please, for him to give any update that he wants.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, councillors. Good afternoon and members of the public. What I'm going to do is talk a wee bit about the legislation that this report's been prepared to meet, and then secondly our response to that, bearing in mind what we're looking for today is to adopt a proposal to go out and consult. So the paper itself has been prepared to outline our response to central government's legislation, specifically the Local Government Water Services Bill. The bill requires all councils to submit a water services plan by the 3rd of September 2025. So that's the key end date that we're working to. The bill provides for arrangements for new water services delivery system, new economic regulation and consumer protection regime for water services, and also changes to water quality regulation framework and the water services regulator. It is a legal requirement that councils must consult with the communities on the various options that we considered and our preferred one. The bill establishes the new regulatory framework for water services delivery. Legislation requires territorial authorities to prepare water services delivery plans, and in those plans we've got to provide information about water services and display a commitment to achieving a water services delivery model that is both financially sustainable and meets regulatory requirements. One of the things about the bill, it enables one or more territorial authorities to establish or become a shareholder in water organisations to provide water supply, wastewater and stormwater services. The bill gives those organisations a range of powers that are already held by local authorities through legislation, including powers to charge the customer for water services delivery, require development contributions for growth-related capital costs, and also propose water services bylaws to TAs. And it sets out content and process for 3 additional core documents: Statement of Expectations, Water Services Strategy, which is prepared by all participants, and Water Services Annual Report. And alongside the economic regulation regime, the bill sets up consumer protection regime that will enable the Commerce Commission to collect and analyse information relating to consumer protections. So that's by way of background to the bill. Central Otago, Clutha, Gore and Waitaki councils are working to assess the merits of forming a joint council-controlled organisation, CCO, to deliver water services across our respective regions. Work is underway to define what a joint CCO would look like and how it compares against Clutha continuing to deliver water services in-house, or set up a standalone CCO for ourselves. The agenda paper presents the completed analysis of the available options, which assess the relative merits and drawbacks of the 3 practical options that have been identified. So what we're doing today is seeking a decision to the preferred water delivery model to adopt and seek community feedback on. And subject to the outcome of that consultation, Council will later decide whether to produce a joint water services plan that will give effect to that option. So in the paper you've read the recommendations, which are that Council approves option 3, which is the 4 councils joined up CCO model, but also includes in our public consultation reference to the other 2 options, which are the in-house business unit and the standalone organisation. And Council approves adding the local water done well as one of our Category A projects. 4 councils have resolved to use alternative requirements for decision making and consultation set out in the Act, and that requires councils to identify certain options for delivering services and assess the advantages or disadvantages of those. And we'll talk about those in a moment. The group of councils have engaged independent consultancy firm Morrison Lowe to complete an analysis of the relative merits, and you will have received, and I imagine have read, that report and the specific references that they've made to the costs. The 3 options which were assessed are, as we said before, Clutha District Council continuing to deliver water services within council, but with the required changes to meet the new legislative and regulatory requirements. Remember I said last time we were talking about this, that you can't have status quo, it's same but different. That is the but different. Second one is to set up a standalone CCO to provide water services, and the third one, again, which is our preferred one, is to set up a joint CCO comprising all 4 councils to provide water services. We have also received independent assurance from an organisation that each of the council's water service capital expenditure plans has been completed. And one key thing that we pause to note at this stage, legislation requires that public ownership of the 3 waters assets is maintained under any future service delivery option. So in other words, privatisation of 3 water assets is prohibited. For the purpose of public consultation, the councils are required to consult on a proposal, as I said before, and for this consultation to be effective, each council needs to identify its preferred option, what we're doing today, to give certainty to the other group councils prior to the councils going out to their respective communities. Conversation that we're having today and the paper that we're looking to adopt is the same on the other 3 councils' agendas. We meet today, 2 of them meet, I think it's either tomorrow or next Tuesday, and the 4th one next Thursday. So we're all doing it very close to each other. Consultation materials are currently being prepared and have not yet been finalised, so they're not provided for the purpose of making today's decision. This is in respect to the operation of the CCO. But when the decision to a preferred option is finalised, the consultation information will include all of the matters required to be consulted on. Consultation process, which is scheduled to commence in early May, in fact I think it's the 9th of May, will ensure information is available on a range of channels traditionally used by council. It's in simple language that is accessible to a broad audience. And the components include producing a consultation document with a submission form, creating a Southern Water Done Well page on each council's engagement platform, hard copy consultation information, submission forms, and each council will hold drop-in sessions as it sees fit. I'm going to talk separately towards the end of this about rural water schemes and how we're going to engage in those. So just talking a wee bit more about the 3 options. The first one is an in-house business unit. It has a number of advantages and disadvantages, which are noted in the paper. Key advantages are that council retains control over the work program and investment priorities, and it's the least amount of change to meet regulatory requirements. On the negative side, there's always a negative, higher admin costs and compliance burdens with these additional requirements that we've got to bring in, increased scrutiny from regulatory bodies, higher risk of financial strain, and higher water charges under this model than under the joint one. Under the in-house delivery model, councils are projected to face significant financial pressures due to rising water infrastructure costs and the increasing burden of compliance. Water charges are expected to increase under the standalone by 47%, and our ability to borrow will be highly constrained, not by the standalone, by the in-house business unit. Option 2 is the standalone. The advantages of financial separation of water debt reduces pressure on our finances, and we talked about this informally last week. The CCO controls investment priorities and risk management, but the disadvantages increase costs due to weaker procurement power, higher setup costs and operational costs, and higher water charges than a joint CCO. Early financial models indicate slightly lower household charges for most districts, while with the charges expected to rise by 46% between now and 2034. Our recommended option is the Joint Water Services CCO. Proposes a regional CCO to manage water services for the 4 councils that will be jointly owned, with shared governance, financial responsibility and resource management. The advantages are that standard asset management improves planning and efficiency, a shared workforce, increasing resilience and career opportunities for staff, better access to expertise and financial separation around the balance sheet, that reduces pressure on ours and our three partners' balance sheets. The disadvantages, though, investment prioritisation may vary across the communities, and that's one of those things that we would need to have key, strong input into the directorship of that CCO. The joint CCO may independently set charges, and there's a potential reduction in council control, potentially offset by regulatory oversight, though. There is an estimated cost to establish a joint water services CCO, which is noted in the paper, that would be shared by each of the councils. Overall, a joint Southern Water Services entity would have greater capacity to manage debt and fund infrastructure upgrades. Water debt will not be considered part of council's total borrowing, and early financial models indicate lower charges for all districts, with charges expected to rise by 37% from now through to 2034. The Act places statutory requirements on councils that are required to be complied with, and this is quite key. If a territorial authority struggles to comply with the requirements of preparing the document by 3rd of September, the Act provides for the Minister to appoint either of two new roles, and that would be firstly a Crown Facilitator or secondly a Crown Water Service Specialist. So the key point we need to note is that we must make a decision which will be adopted no later than 3rd of September. So we're talking today about what is the third option, going to consultation, and then the real gritty stuff starts when we consider the submissions to the proposal and our response to that. Now, the report doesn't specifically deal with consultation with rural water users, and obviously that's a significant part of the conversation that this council will need to have. We will be meeting with all rural water scheme committees, or at least their chairs, at the start of the consultation process. So it'll either be late April or early May. We want to talk about some specific things such as the level of treatment. The majority of water we note is used for purposes other than human consumption. Some of those schemes are low pressure, and large volumes of water are consumed by a small number of customers. And as I say, though, those conversations will be held separately, and we've also reached out in the last 24 hours to Waitaki District Council, who have a similar issue with their rural water scheme users as well. So rest assured that it's going to happen. So in my closing comments, Mr Mayor and Councillors, to choose our preferred consultation model today, it is not our final decision. We're simply engaging in a process, and this gets us to the start line. There will be a series of meetings held starting on the 9th of May, should I say, and they will take about a month, and the schedule of those will be out. The outcomes of the community and stakeholder engagement will be used to help each council decide which of the delivery models they wish to adopt and include in a joint water service delivery plan. And the next steps and dates are in the last paragraph of the report, which is attached to the agenda. So, Mr Mayor, that's what I just wanted to outline, both in terms of the Act requirements and our proposal so far. So happy to answer any questions.
Just before we go to questions, just three things I've got to go over. So firstly, welcome Councillor McCrosty. Late apology, thank you. Secondly, I was remiss. We've got, so as well as Dave, staff, everyone else, we've got the team from Morrison Low, which is Stuart Cross and Sonia Gherkin, and also independent Andrew Strawn. So we've got the three there. Sorry, team, that I didn't welcome and intro you before there. And then finally, just before we head into questions for any and all and sundry, just so you know where we've been working in the last 24 hours. Remember, and this is specifically to do with rural water schemes, remember that pretty much it's us and Waitaki. Central Targa doesn't supply a drop of water to their rural. They're only urban and Gore. It's not on their radar. So this is pretty much us and them. I've been talking as well as David too. My apologies, it's not my phone, it's the stupid thing. Like, shut up. My apologies, I can't shut it up. Where was I? Yes, so we've been talking to Waitaki. The assurance that, because we've got to remember that it is us and Waitaki. They've got 8 mixed-use schemes. 4 of them are controlled by one provider, Cotterswood or something is the name of it. So they are going to get the right people from their rural water schemes. We will get the Roger Cotton, where the rural ones want to go, whether it's just the chair or all the chairs or whatever. Hey, it's up to them. We put our heads together over the next week to 10 days. Initial indications are that we need to talk between Waitaki and ourselves to work out where we're going. Certainly if Gore and Central want to have input, there is the possibility if private schemes were to go, I'm not doing this anymore, and Central target, by default, the council would then get them, and then by default, the CCO would. So you can't say that they're not in on it. But what we're looking at the moment is that you think that you've got your CCO, and in fairness, the fiduciary responsibility of the directors means that they're not going to be wanting to be bombarded from afar, and yet there's got to be input. So there's got to be the ability to have direct contact for the rural schemes, to have direct contact with the CCO, and they will probably do that through the annual report. That will be the most likely conduit. The CCO they'll be reporting to would be their preferred forward work program, their budget, and their water rate. That's the key battle lines. There were other, do they want input into appointments and the like? Probably not. Don't know. Let's have a talk when we get the two together. But I take heart from the fact that Morrison loaded a lot of work on this 3 years ago. The basic gut of it was that sub-regional representation group that we always had for the water schemes. We'll dust that off, blow some life back into it, and the assurance is that Waitaki and Clutha will come together in the next week to 10 days, get the two teams together and see what rolls out the back end of it. Our apologies that we can't be more definitive than that, but isn't that just 3 waters? The timeframes are causing compromise. So what we'll do, we'll go to overall questioning. So Hugo, question 2, Councillor Grant.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Just on bottom page 9 with the risks and impacts, I'm just a wee bit confused that if the DIA does not approve the WSDP and requires the document to be revised, that one of the impacts could be that the DIA requires other councils to join the group of councils. And I didn't think they could. So if we're in a group, they can turn around and say, you've got to have this other council with you.
Yeah. So it's through you, Mr. Mayor. Andrew, can I get you to answer that question, please?
Yep, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Members for one here. Yeah, so we haven't had that explicit direction from the DIA that is a potential outcome. That was the project team just, considering the risk and potential impact. So that hasn't, we haven't had a formal advice from DIA to that respect, or understood our legal, our legal position in terms of the commitment agreement that we're all party to. So it hasn't, so it's a potential, not a known. Stuart, have you got anything to add to that?
I largely back that up. DIA themselves, through conversations, have not, I think, are not also that clear whether they have the power to force someone else into the group. But I think it's worth noting that it's certainly something that I would suggest the Minister is very keenly focused on, and is very, the government has some very clear and deliberate kind of outcomes they want to achieve, and that is to see councils join together through this work. So to the extent that they do have those powers and are able to exert them, I would expect that they may look to do that. But I think when we're looking at our own grouping, in the communications we've had with DIA for some time, we've also been very clear with them that we need to also be able to get on with the work that we're doing. And so I think they would be probably a little bit hesitant to force into groups that are already moving and working along. They're more likely to look to councils that are already on their own and force them to group together rather than force them to join us in the immediate, I would expect. But this is all guesswork, I guess, at the moment because we don't have a lot of legal clarity around that.
Okay.
So Dave, followed by me.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Graham, having worked with this group, albeit for a small period of time, I'm confident that we will not be exposed to that risk. And I think that's one of the beauties of going with the joined up model as well. And the dialogue with DIA also has been very good at this stage.
Okay.
So I probably take account of the honest. That's the simple fact that for the last 6 years, the fundamentals haven't changed. The figures pretty much once you got them, you got them. And I still say that Clutha District is sitting mid-pack for the council. Certainly for South Island councils, we're sitting mid-pack. So work it out that if we're mid-pack and we're in this quagmire, there's a whole lot under us, and yet none of them are doing joint CCO. So when it comes to that, there it is, September, is it?
Yeah.
September. When it comes to that day, what's the government to do? They put forward a plan that just cannot work. I know that 3 years ago when we looked at it, there were definitely councils that I believe will not work. So what do they do? The government's going to have it, well, we can't, you're going to go bankrupt here, we accept that. So we are the only ones in the South Island that have come together. It's not like it's the rock stars that are going to be coming to us. It'll be the worst case scenarios. And I think that we've got to be firm in the fact that it is a possibility. I agree with Dave that it shouldn't be. But if it is, we're going to be firm that no. We've done our best. When the offer was there, when all and sundry for the South Island, we said all and sundry we'll consider. They turned their back on us. It is noted that the group of councils under the banner Communities for Local Democracy that wanted and got this situation, not one of them is in a collaborative discussion. The four that you're looking at, we're part of that group and we're in collaborative. What more can we do for we maintained a loyal path for the first 3 waters. We maintained a loyal path as a council to this government's proposal of water done well. They can't use this as a dump, but guess what? 3 waters wouldn't be the biggest surprise we've ever had. So there will be councils on September the 3rd, guaranteed, that will not be able to endure the storm. Where the hell they go, no one's thought of that. Questions further, team? Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Worship. I've got one. Look, and it's great to have the people on the Zoom. What's the trigger point here? Like, we agree to it, perhaps, and I'll probably state my case. I think there's only one option we've got, but we agree to this. 3 partners come with us. That's sort of it's bearable. We can pay the setup costs and everything, which is here it's projected at 13.8. So that's 3.5 per council. You go down to 2, it's 4.6. You go to 3, it's all of a sudden it's 6.9. What is the trigger point for us? Well, when do we? I mean, we can agree to this today, but then one partner. What's our opportunity then?
At the end of consultation.
Really
make the decision.
That's clear. Because that's doubling the price, unless the projected costs, of course, are scaled in some way too.
So through you, Mr Mayor, what we're doing today, Councillor Payne, is getting ourselves to the starting line.
I know that, yes.
And the answer to your question will be determined when we go through the hearing of submissions. And
I just wondered whether there was any thought on it though, Dave. It's something I'd like to chew a bit of fat on at some stage, but somebody may have a comment.
Oh, sorry, that we went in the corner. Stuart, sorry.
I'll just quickly jump in. First, just on that risk that we're talking about other councils joining as well, just a quick note that any modelling we've ever done always indicates as long as we're comfortable with that pricing principle of local pricing being maintained for some time, if another council joins, I don't think we're going to lose any benefits from that. And if anything, the benefits probably grow. And us making these decisions, I guess, early on around we are the group that are going to form this entity, we get to set the terms of that entity as well. So just keep that in mind. But just on your point, Councillor, around the establishment costs, we would expect that they would scale as the entity gets smaller, and there are some costs there around like work stream leads, for example, where the scope of the work that they have to do will shrink as we get fewer councils. The IT costs associated with that also will shrink as the scale of what that system has to be able to cope with shrinks. So they will absolutely scale, but I can't answer your question beyond that around what the threshold is about how many councils you work with if people drop out, because that's ultimately going to be for you guys to make after consultation.
Well, thanks, Stu. Look, that gives me some confidence for the way I'm going to vote today. So that's great.
Further questions, Tim, before we head into general discussion? Okie doke. Please, team, if you could stay on just if the general discussion evolves into question, and it'd be great to still have you there. Matters open for discussion, councillors. No, not yet. Sorry, Councillor Catherwood.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm pretty comfortable with this whole journey, been right here from the start, under the previous government and that. I'd like to see recommendation 3 come forward 2, because I feel very strongly of recommendation 3 coming to the table and being voted on, because I really want to make sure that we are consulting on all 3 options. Because obviously if we went ahead and did recommendation 2, it was a yes and a no on recommendation 3, I feel uncomfortable about that decision. So I'm happy.
So that's a fair point.
That's where I'm at.
So,
yeah.
So I'll give the assurance. I can see what he means, because you could vote 2 thinking, oh, and then I've lost, get one,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other. So I will take 2 and 3 at the same time, so that we eliminate that. Either way is going to have complications, but I see what you mean. You could vote thinking, right, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to get that, and then you don't get that. And I don't think it'll happen, but let's just make sure it doesn't.
So, yeah, because how I feel is that I feel that we need to, when we go to consultation, we really need to engage and educate our public so they actually fully understand all those 3 options and all those true risks that come with each of those options. And I really, really feel strongly that we've got to have consult on all those options.
So now as the discussion goes on, I'll take recommendation 1 by itself, then 2 and 3 by themselves, and then 4 by itself. So you know what you're doing. Further discussion. Councillor Bolwell.
I'll just move recommendation 1 that we.
It's an easy one.
Second.
Councillor Catherwood seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
Done. So technically we're on to 2 and 3 now. Can I say from my part, like this, there has been nothing that has upset the apple cart like this. And I'm trying to look at what are the options. Don't really have an option today, and yet it's not that flash. I look back 3 years ago, and I know that there is no point in looking back, but we did do the honourable thing in the first iteration of the reforms. And if those reforms had gone through, this council was projected to be sitting with $41 million in our NICO account, no debt, no future legal liability, and off over to the entity. That's what people marched on the street and stopped. I'll repeat it. 41 million. And the aeroplane will get turned off because we could buy one. 41 million, no debt, no future liability. And we marched in the streets to stop that. And I think that we've got to dwell on that as we go out to consultation, because many of the people that marched in the street will be standing in front of us asking how the heck we got into this situation. And I can tell them how, because you won the argument and many of us lost. So now we're faced with, do we bury our heads in the sand? No, we don't. We've got a responsibility team to still do in this playing field, which is now local water done well. What is the best? And I look at it, and there's the ability here, instead of going over a cliff, that we get catapulted over a very steep bank. There's no El Dorado option or no saviour. It's better than not doing it, but not much. It's still the best option that we can do for the district under the present situation, but what an ungodly situation to have our ratepayers based in. So Hobson's choice, isn't it just three waters? I have no great compulsion to go, yay, let's do this. It's just like, we're beaten up, we're in a corner, and this is the best we can do for our district. Question to who?
Mr Mayor, through you, Andrew, can I just come back to Councillor Catherwood's question? My understanding is that the consultation document will include reference to all three options, albeit one of them as a preferred option.
Confirmed, yes, all three options.
Okay, so that's my position is the present local water done well gives us no option other than to take the comfort of now we go over a very steep hill instead of a cliff. We'll go to the public, obviously, and get their opinion on it. But I despair for them, because as I look around the table, what is it that each and every one of you would have done? 10,000 pages of reading? More? Really, to get the situation where there's a fragility to the due diligence that we're doing, and that's after having that foundation, and yet we expect to go to the public, who in fairness could have never ever done the background work. I've never known a sillier situation in my 27 years in local government, and that's it. So let's go and do it. The biggest decision we've ever made, the largest financial impact on our district, and these are the cards that we've been given. I ain't happy about it, but I do take heart from the fact that in the preferred option, we are doing the best we can under extremely difficult circumstances. Councillor Finch.
I'd just like to say, when you were saying we marched, we never marched. That's all. I just want.
You think any of us would have been silly enough to?
No, but it was just the way you termed it. We never marched. It is really serious. This has a lot of implications for everybody in our community, and it's tough enough as it is, let alone having to have this shoved down our throat, which we really have no opportunity to change. We are doing the best we can for our community, our constituents, and yes, we've just got to hope that they realise that we are doing the best we can under very trying circumstances.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Probably actually a thank you to you for a start off, Your Worship, because all the way along in this rocky old road you've kept us informed. So I think a few other councils have been kept in the dark a little bit, but you've kept us informed, and we've read those updated reports as they come out, and I'm sure Morris will know of no free waters inside out. I don't think we can expect the public to have read everything we've read, Your Worship, or even a few percent of it, because that's our job. We represent the public, so that's our job to actually go through that. And just remember what we're doing here. We're actually only just putting out the options for consultation. We're not deciding on this today. It's just a consultation question. So I'm happy to move when you're ready to take a recommendation, Your Worship.
But now that we've had clarification from Andrew or Stuart, one of them, Andrew, I'm almost open to the option of 2, 3 and 4.
Happy to move.
No, there. Yep. Right, so Councillor Herbert's done that, and Councillor McAtammany seconded it.
No, sorry.
Oh, sorry, hold on. I'll get a second to Councillor McAtammany. That new haircut of yours just had me, I was that impressed. I thought I'll take the new fella.
You want to join the club?
I wanted to just come into the discussion.
Who's gonna second, and then we will go back to Councillor Volwick. Now I'll go back to you, Councillor McAtammany.
Yeah, Yeah, I was just questioning on the consultation 3.2, standalone Health District WSE. I'm wondering whether that should be dropped altogether. To me, it looks like a financial and a governance lemon if we have to go down that track. And I'm wondering whether we're just muddying the waters by including it in the consultation document. The option is, well, this is my opinion, if for whatever reason the joint entity doesn't get formed, then we have to go to the in-business house unit. So
can
I
I
just
get-
think it muddies the waters by adding it in there as an option for people to study.
Can I get our CEO to, he wishes to speak, and then we'll discuss that specifically?
Yeah, I'd take the opposite view. But that is one of those issues that we did consult, did a lot of background work on in terms of what was the intent, because I know that it's one thing around the country that's being looked at by a number of councils as well. So that question will come back to us. So I think put it on the table initially. It's pretty clear that it's not financially the best option, but it is an option nonetheless. And for completeness.
What's everyone's thoughts specifically on this one, Councillor Baldwin?
Thank you, Wish. I think this should stay in as well. I think our community will actually be asking us, why don't you just stick with the status quo? It's not quite the status quo. I think we have to be able to show why we are going for the other two options. That if we do stick with an in-house business unit, it's not going to be affordable for our ratepayers. But besides, perhaps that's something the ratepayers, our district does want in the end, and they will come out vociferously in support of that and prepared to accept the financial burden that imposes. But so I think that does need to stay in there, just so we have a good comparison with what is baseline, perhaps not effectively the baseline status quo, but it's a good baseline comparison with the other two options.
Yeah, no, let's bounce backwards and forwards. You want to sign on?
Yeah, I wasn't. I was saying the standalone CCO will be a no-go financially. That's the one to take out, not the comparison with the in-business.
I think that still needs to stay in there, because if our community still wants to,
No, you're fine. We're going to do this, Bruce, to get this off our spleen.
And also, for some reason, the other councils pull out. That might be the only two options we're left with, then the in-house business unit or the CCO, the single CCO option.
Councillor Ludeman.
I kind of can see where Simon's coming from. So if it's to stay in the standalone, in the consultation document, will it clearly show the cost different and how basically unaffordable that would be? That would be my concern. The consultation document really has to clearly show that that's almost not a viable option. Otherwise, we are muddying the waters by leaving it in.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I can give that assurance that that will be the case.
I suppose we've got to be careful, because 3 years ago there was an absolutely unviable option that would have consigned our ratepayers to ghastly financial ramifications. That was the one that the public took, so just never know. Could be that they do it again.
Well, that is a wee bit of the concern. Sometimes the more options, and just the fact that the standalone one really isn't viable.
Righto, just to break the deadlock on this, can we just get it? Hold on, Dave, we'll try and do it. And I'm getting the vibe that, there's an understanding, but no, we're not going to do it, and we're reading it the wrong way. Does anyone feel standing behind Councillor McAtammany's suggestion? Righto, that clears that one. Further discussion, team.
So if you're going to
show the costs or plus or minus, so you'll show the figure of the 13 million to set up this new entity as well?
I'm assuming Andrew's nodding. It's a yes, councillor Mackie.
Yeah, and we've got some quite useful just sort of provisos around that 13 million. The fact that it is a placeholder, it's potentially can be phased through time, can be reduced for the purposes of financial modelling. I shouldn't be speaking for Stu on this, but it's a number that we had to basically plug into the model, and once the CCF, if it comes to be, CCO will have to form up its own view of establishment. But it's better to overestimate and underestimate. So so that's sort of the provisos of the adjectives. Overestimate the establishment costs and underestimate the benefit, and be conservative in the benefits, so that we're making sure we're being conservative overall.
Thank you. Councillor Ludeman.
So with those costs at, say, 13 million, is each council equal, or does it depend on the size of the council as to what your cost would be? And then my other question is, say one council pulls out in July, are the costs to date go back to them for that? That really is what there really needs to be a wee bit of certainty around how these costs are allocated, I feel.
I'll talk to the project cost, if you like, because there's a question there around that, and then Stu can talk about the 13 million. Yeah, so as a group, we've signed up to the commitment agreement, which has a budget for the, if you call it the project phase, to get us through to submission of a water services delivery plan, a joint plan. So if a council, any council has the ability to pull out of that agreement up until the point that the water service delivery plan is submitted, and costs are allocated on the basis of it's an equal allocation between the councils, and whatever costs that have been incurred up to that point of exit. So that's the agreement that we have to get through to the delivery plan, and then I'll flick to Stu in terms of the CCO establishment piece.
Yeah. So the establishment costs, I think, worth noting, they won't be incurred until a decision has been made to establish an entity, and then the work commences to actually set that entity up. So at that point, there will have been a joint water services delivery plan submitted by all the participating councils, and the government will hold you to that plan. So it won't be an opportunity for councils to withdraw from that plan. You are allowed to amend the plan, but there is close to a zero chance that the DIA is going to approve an amendment to a plan that involves a council dropping out. Once you've submitted that plan, there won't be the opportunity for council to drop out. In terms of the establishment costs themselves, in our financial modelling, this is really just for modelling at this purpose at this point, and for the business case, we have assumed that all of those establishment costs would be debt funded. So councils would borrow for it, and the entity would inherit that debt, and the obligation to repay that debt would be shared across all of the participating councils of that entity. So that won't go directly into operational costs or into rates. It will eventually be repaid through, it obviously has to be repaid eventually because that's what debt does, but it's over a much longer period of time. And within that entity, and like I say, and Andrew's reiterated that at the moment is really very much a modelling, a budget for modelling purposes. It's not a formal budget for transition, and a formal budget for transition will have to be developed in time once we know what that's going to look like. Our approach here has always been that we don't want to be accused of sugarcoating the modelling, so we do tend to take a conservative view on what we think transition costs are going to be, and try and take a conservative view on what we think efficiencies could be as well, so that we can't be accused of making the entity look good just because we've bumped up efficiencies or kept the transition costs low. So we think they're ample, we think they're conservative, and we think that they'll be sufficient. But like I said, they'll be deep funded by the participating councils, and I think the opportunities for any council to withdraw by the time we need to commit to incurring those transition costs is going to be close to zero.
I think that's good clarification.
Councillor Finch, followed by South.
Can I just check, is Timaru, when they pulled out, do they still have to pay their share of the cost?
Yes, yeah, and they confirmed that they were happy with that. Haven't sent them the invoice yet, but I've got a number.
Great, thank you, just wanted confirmation.
So like, we haven't had time to chew into this, and it's those compromises that are being made because of the pace that we've been told to go at. So for me, the ones that were really worrying to me was, we get to July, August or something, and one of the other three councils vote to go out. And there's the side, well, we don't move on. I don't know what the three means. Is it Waitakere? Is it Gore? Is it up? Is it down? But do we have an opportunity to then go back in and say for ourselves, and like a one go, and it's a game changer, it's off? I don't see any chance to stop the train and have a look around in July, August. That worries me because there's a good chance that one of the others could go. We could go, but we shouldn't be hog-tied into it. What is fundamentally a change? The second one is we have not, and it's always been a real bugbear of mine. Remember, Clutha goes early. So our work program, we go up for the first 7 years, and then we go down. The problem is if we start talking harmonisation, if we do harmonisation out in year 7, we carry, harmonisation, but ring fence debt. Could be, it's an option. We go up to there with all of ours, we then hold our debt and carry on with the others. And instead of that, we keep going on that. The detail of the harmonisation has always been a big one to me. What if there is forced additions? July, August, where's the opportunity if so we've got them. I don't want them. But how do we go back? The train's already left the station. And also with the 4 councils, there's already been some surprises. Shall we call them surprises? What if there's more surprises? So the details that we're talking of it is bordering on a blind leap of faith that we're being made to take as councils. Because you tell me what we do if in July one pulls out, if harmonisation with debt ring fence, if forced additions. It's those ones that worry me, and I don't see that we're being given the opportunity to rectify or regather our forces. Simon.
Okay, I'll tell you what we do. We go a non-negotiable on local pricing.
On who?
Non-negotiable, it stays at local pricing. And then if someone pulls out, it will not have an effect.
Ultimately, though, we want harmonisation. It's the timing of harmonisation.
But not according to the numbers in that report. And if you look over the long run, we want to stick to local pricing.
Short term, that said, Mr. Mayor, I think we just need to remind ourselves
what we're doing today.
We're talking about going out for consultation. We're currently leaping into that end of July conversation, which we don't know what it is. So I think we've still got recommendations 2, 3 and 4.
Yeah,
we had a mover and a seconder, didn't we?
Yep. And as I said, I'm working through it. If I don't let my councillors air their concerns, we'll never... That's how we keep a happy ship. Keep sailing. Councillor Finch.
No, it's fine, thanks.
Anyone else? We may have now. No, we haven't.
Oh, well, I'm happy to move on, Your Worship. I think, look, given the information we've received, we've got the most logical solutions there. We all know what they are. I think we've had a pretty good discussion, and I think my feeling of the room is that we're pretty much in agreement. I think it.
So nothing more to go, Tim? Right. Show of hands, please, if we could. We know what we're voting on. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. We know what we're voting on. All those in favour, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Unanimous.
Everyone.
Unanimous. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, everybody.
Brings down, thank you to Stuart, Andrew and Sonia for your assistance, appreciate it. Jock, are you staying, sorry, Councillor Martin, are you staying with us or are we now an apology?
I'll be an apology now, please, Brian, I better get back to this conference.
Right, our apology to,
Your worship.
thanks for being in on that, apology accepted.
Good afternoon.
Kia ora. Remembering now that when Hamish Anderson gets here any old minute, no one could check these not in the lobby, could he? He would come in, wouldn't he, surely?
Yeah.
I was at the dentist when I drove here. Oh, here he goes now.
He is here. Ah, look at that. Perfect timing. Kia ora, Councillor Anderson. Kia ora, Hamish. Welcome. So seeing you have the opportunity to speak to the agenda item, which we're now, you've done perfect timing, we'll just turn to it. Do you wish to speak to the item? Thank you. Yes, of course yours. I should do introductions, so not only, welcome back to your chamber ex-deputy Anderson, but I think all, even the first term ones. Hamish is also head of Clutha Health First.
Oh, no, chair of Clutha Health Incorporated.
Yeah, that.
Which is 100% shareholder of Clutha Health First. Look, the paper that I've prepared here is pretty self-explanatory. I've really just come along to, if you've got any questions to answer them, but essentially after the period of time that we've been going and with the changes in the Incorporated Societies Act that's taking place in 2026, it was an opportune time for us to review the constitution of Clutha Health Incorporated and Clutha Health First. And so we started that process, and as I mentioned, we employed Anne McLeod from Anderson Lloyd, who's very experienced in these matters and in health matters and in governance. And so we started going through the process, and it soon became pretty apparent that what we had was somewhat, not archaic, but was not fit for purpose anymore in today's world, even though it was only done 26 years ago. And with one of the major things with the Incorporated Societies Act change, 2026, is that we have to keep a list of all of our members. And by definition, all of our members are everybody in the Clutha district. And you could imagine that that would be a huge task. So on reviewing it, we decided that the best course of action was actually to go to a charitable trust. So from the governance side of things, it will change the governance side. From the health delivery side, it's nobody will notice a single bit of difference. Our tasks remain the same. We still appoint the directors to Clutha Health First, who deliver the health services. And the makeup of the board will shrink. We'll go to a smaller board, and the composition of that board will change. We've decided that the appointment to that board will be, of the trustees, will be based on a appointment matrix, the skill sets that we require for the trustees, and that process will be chaired by an independent person to make sure that we don't become a closed shop, old boys network, so to speak, to keep us on the straight and narrow. So really that's it. And the old constitution required that if we change the constitution, we had to come and get the permission of the Clutha District Council, which, back in the day when the new hospital, Clutha Health First, was set up after the close of the hospital up the hill, everybody was in their council and all to make it work, and now it's working fine. And so we need some changes really, just to streamline it for the next 20 years, make it easier for the people going forward. So really, that's all I'm really requesting. So quite willing to answer any questions.
Questions, Dave? Councillor Volwell, followed by Ludeman.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Worship. Mr. Anderson, welcome.
Thank you.
See you again. For a start, the governance board.
Yep.
Will they all be trustees?
They will be trustees. It will become a trust, yeah.
Okay, so before somebody can come onto the board or as they're appointed to the board, they automatically become a trustee.
Yeah, and you know, so we will change from a constitution to a trust deed, and so the process of appointment will be in the trust deed. The rules governing the trustees will be all set out in the trust deed. It's just a much simpler process, and I suppose I shouldn't really say this. One of our concerns was we now dovetail on the triennial elections for the Clutha District Council, and we could carry on that way, but who knows whether there'll be a Clutha District Council in 20 years' time. The government's got plenty of things on their plate at the moment, and local government restructuring doesn't seem to be one of them, but you only have to get someone with a bee in their bonnet and away they go. So we don't know what the future holds, so we're really future-proofing this. And it would save us money in terms of the electoral process. Even though I must say the Clutha District Council has always been very kind with what they charge us for piggybacking on their election process. But yeah.
And then just further then, just related to that, you hope to have this new structure implemented for this October's local body elections, so there won't be no need for that.
Yeah. So at the moment, we've got a piece of paper that we're about possibly to sign saying that yes, we'll be in the election process, but at the same time, we're working to make sure that we're not in the election process. And the original or initial trustees will be the current trustees of Clutha Health Incorporated, and they will all become trustees, or those who wish to become trustees, and lots will be drawn to see who retires by rotation. So one of the other advantages is that we'll have rotation over the whole 3 years of a term. So people will be on for a 3-year term, they'll retire by rotation, but several each year. So there's not the risk that suddenly you get to an election and suddenly a whole lot of people want to leave, and sort of institutional knowledge is lost.
And how many trustees do you anticipate having?
5 to 7 will be the range. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Ludeman, followed by Sarah.
My question, I was just wondering about rotation and everything of trustees.
So for me, Hamish, it's like our responsibility is to ensure continuity of community input and the voice of the people is heard. So at the moment, anyone can put their name forward for election. You get voted down, the people have their say, there's that sort of barometer. But now there is appointments to the...
Yeah.
An absolute stranger comes to the district but is impassioned and wants to join. Mm-hmm. How do they get nominated? Is it shoulder tapping? Is everyone able to apply to become a trustee?
Everybody of voting age, 18 and over. So at the current point in time, we had quite a large debate over were we really, did the people have their opportunity to have their say as to who was on Clutha Health Incorporated? Well, I think for the last 9 years we haven't had an election, so people have not had their say. It's just been go through the process, you're on. We've actually had people come into the community who, irrespective of skills or otherwise, can put their name down and suddenly they're on the board, and they may not have necessarily delivered. What we think the process, Brian, is that we're going to, with the trustee appointment, we will each year advertise a request for trustees, because the current trustees will be retiring by rotation. They will be eligible to stand again. We will publish the skills matrix on the basis of which trustees will be selected. So we actually think it's probably going to be actually a better process. We hope that we will actually attract some younger people. Some people don't actually like going through an election process because you get judged by your peers, and if you're found wanting it, it's quite daunting. Cry yourself to sleep for the next 3 months. But yeah, so I think it's a pretty transparent process that we're going through. The trustees can only be residents of the current boundaries of the Clutha district, and if the Clutha, district council ceased to exist, we would still use those boundaries as the boundaries for the election process. So yeah, so definitely it's going to be a committee of the people, whereas the board that we appoint for CHF is chosen on very specific skills that we require. And of that current board, some of them have resided in the community, but only one board member actually lives in the Clutha district. But we're not worried about that because we're looking for specific skills around governance, health, experience, and all those sorts of things.
I think that gives a fair opportunity for any member of our public to be able to participate as such, or throw their name in the hat. And there's certainly a efficiency in sorting out the other end of it. Okay, Councillor Herman.
Thank you, and thank you, Hamish, for coming along. So I presume Clutha Health Incorporated owns property and assets and things, and will they all transfer over to the new trust?
Yes. So we just decided the other night to start the trust off with $1 and then transfer it once the approval comes through. We'll transfer those other assets. So the assets that the trust will hold are all the buildings associated with the hospital. You'll probably be aware that we recently, last year, bought the old Salvation Army building right next door, good for a health campus. So there's sort of plans afoot to do something with that. And one of the other things, other properties that the current CHI hold, the trust hold, is houses around Clutha, which has been a great investment in terms of attracting doctors and locums, because they don't like coming and staying in motels. And one of the attractions for doctors coming from overseas is that there's a house available and quite a good standard of house.
Very similar to what we've got in West Otago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Councillor Volwella, followed by South again.
Just a question, what will the name of the new entity be?
Ah, well, you see, we've already decided on that. Yeah, just preempting your decision. It's going to be Clutha Health Trust. Very simple. Someone suggested that we make it Clutha Health Charitable Trust, but that's just the extra word you've got to spit out every time you announce it. And we just thought Clutha Health Trust covered it all.
Hamish, I'm trying to think of the responsibilities and where are iwi in that?
Okay, so under the current structure, we have by right a number of people who are appointed. So we've got a very large structure, up to 10 people. 5 elected from the community, but we haven't even filled those vacancies for the last few years. We have 3 staff appointments, which is, again, an overhang from right back in the beginning. One of those representing the GPs. That was when GPs were not staff members, and an iwi representative. Under our new, and a council representative, sorry. And it's a shame that Michelle's not here because she could speak about her role on the council, but we are suggesting under the new structure, the only appointment by right, where we'll go out and say, you have the right to appoint a member as iwi. And everybody else will be coming from the district.
Nice, thank you. Any further questions? If not, Hamish, is it okay if you sit and if you feel the urge to join the fray?
No,
So,
she is behind me.
I note that Julie prepared the report, but I don't think you want further questioning there. David, anyone? No one? Right, matters open for discussion. Councillor Volwell.
Move recommendation one that we received.
Seconder for that, please. Councillor Finch, all those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, let's move on to number 2.
Happy to move that we approve the request.
Councillor Finch to say and approve. Seconder, Councillor Herbert, discussion. No discussion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Those against? Thank you for that, Hamish, appreciate it. On to number 3. Hi, CCTV. Kelly, welcome.
Good afternoon, councillors. By way of context for this paper, Mike was one of several officers that worked on it, and it had considerable input from the policy team as well. It's important because CDC is moving on a journey towards a new CCTV policy, which is surprisingly complex. We're just currently waiting on police commentary on that before we bring it back to you for your consideration. So this paper moves us toward the expected practice for CCTV, both by the New Zealand Privacy Commissioner, the New Zealand Police, and this paper anticipates that policy long term. In this case, the paper is requesting funding of up to 50% of the purchase of 2 CCTV cameras for Kaitangata and the ongoing and full costs of operations. Happy to take any questions.
Questions to Kelly team? No questions. Can you just hold and hover as we go through the discussion? Matters open for discussion, team. From my point of view, this has been forever piecemeally done. One town comes up, we say yes, the next says no, the other's paying for the lot, the next is it. I well remember every Saturday morning going down the street and picking up the hanging baskets, the booted in signs, the knocked over giveaways, the everything, and then we put a security camera in. Never had to do it ever since then. One prosecution was all that we did, and it just all went away. I couldn't even guess how much the cameras saved us in Balclutha, and I have no doubt in every other town will be the same. It's about time we just moved on and got some continuity and uniformity of cost and saved ourselves and our ratepayers a few dollars. Councillor Catholic.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so we said yes and we said no, but the one time we actually said no, just to correct you, was they came for 100% of the costs. I reckon it came with 50%, and Clinton came with 50%. Kaitangata has now come down with 50%. I'll be fully supporting the recommendation, and from what we got it from, OWIC has got theirs from a wee bit of reserve money, and Clinton got theirs from investment surplus, and I understand there's some investment surplus balance still available, and I would be recommending, if you're happy for me to take do a recommendation, that we do agree to it in recommendation 2, and coming from the investment surplus from last financial year.
Okay, so I'll hold and hover and come back to you on it. For Councillor Mackie, did you get it?
Yeah, I support the 50% payment as well. I've read it on a few reports where the police have used this to help solve crimes. Now, is there any funding through the police that they could be helping with this?
Through the chair, no, the police make no contribution to this.
No, but they're using that technology that we're funding, the communities are funding to solve crimes.
That is correct.
I just question that.
Victims are ratepayers, I suppose, but Councillor Graham Philip, I think.
Yes, through you, look, I totally support this. It's aimed at keeping an eye on the community projects, that our place projects that they've put in there, and as all communities, there's been a lot of volunteer work and hard work to do it. But I do take exception to the letter from the police, and it's not the first time that a letter from the police has come before the council with the same tone, begging, well, I'll just read this bit out. Despite the views of a large proportion of Kaitangata residents, this behaviour is often promoted and encouraged under the mentality of Kai rules. They seem to think that Kai rules is a negative thing. Kai rules is actually positive. It gives the young of Kai Tangata an identity and a sense of ownership. And I look back over the last few years and I look what proponents of Kai rules have done around Kai. And they've built a BMX track and a skate park. They run a highly successful trail ride, which the money is donated back into the community. That a couple of the Kai rules run the Kai car show that put thousands of dollars into not just things around Kai, but the life-saving, surf life-saving, the scouts, all that sort of thing. So I really guess went back up when the police try to paint Kai as a bit of the Wild West. I think if they're that concerned, it's about time they put a resident policeman down at Kai. But that's a story for another day. But bottom line is, we encourage our communities to do these projects, and here's a chance to just make them a wee bit more secure.
Thank you, Councillor Finch.
Thank you. I also support this, and we've asked about the police support for funding in previous times and were told no. But my take on it is that if there is something happening and the police use that to catch a criminal, then that is actually helping our community by sorting out that behaviour, the issue, whatever. So it is still to our advantage, the police using the cameras for their good use.
So I'm sort of feeling a warm glow, so I'll go to Councillor Herbert and then I might try and bag all three recommendations.
Stop that warm glow, your worship. My quick question, Kelly, because my concern is, and I support this, but these things take a lot of upkeep. And hard drives wear out, and this happens and that happens, and all of a sudden there's cost after cost. We had one happen years ago. The thing got too expensive to run. So my question is, you talk about $726 there in the first year. What do we know what's going to be each and every year after that?
So I do not know that number. I would assume that the paper that follows will have a look at not just how this would operate in the legal consequences, but also the financial costs of the district for a decision.
Yeah, because it's not a one-off cost. I'll have to support it.
Councillor Catholic.
I just want to help Councillor Herbert out. From what I'm aware, Balclutha cameras, there's an operational cost compensation. It's payables with cameras operated from. Whereas in Owaka, the local medical centre, myself as a business owner, and WE Perrins, local stock transporter, we donate that operational cost.
Just
the community.
It's not the power, it's hard drive, everything that's associated with it.
So on that side of it, that's covered. And then there's the internet connection from Uniphone. That is the ongoing cost. So I think that'll get ironed out when staff come through with the policy and we can harmonise it so it's fair throughout the whole district.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So in saying that, when I'm reading these recommendations again, with recommendation 2, is to put the signage costs in with recommendation 2 from the investment surplus and then take the operational costs from the Parks and Reserves budget, because then that falls into the community of interest.
Test the meeting. Is that what you want to do? I'd move to recommendation.
Well, just to clarify that, would that fall into the Parks and Reserves that would affect Kai? So I'm happy to move recommendation 1, 2 with an amendment. The council agrees to fund 50% towards the purchase of CCTV for Katangata up to a maximum of 5,622.5, excluding GIST, along with signage costs of up to $500, excluding from the investment surplus. That's my recommendation.
All right, I've got Those recommendations, so we've got a second. Second, Councillor McCusty, matters open for discussion.
Just
Councillor Ludeman.
checking with Sharon how much is still left in last year's investment surplus.
Through you, Your Worship, very good question. There was some left.
Enough?
I can't say exactly. Yes, oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, yes.
and actually, can I just clarify that communities of interest thing, that is 50-50 though?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's right.
UAGC.
It's still,
Okay, yeah.
it's still lands reasonable to land.
Any further questions? If not, we'll put to the vote. Everyone know what we're voting on? Put to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands until Julie says you can drop them. Done again. Oh, it's getting
And then,
so easy. Imagine we keep going like this all day, team. Yeah.
And I'll like to move, and then I'll move recommendation 3 now, as that the council agrees to fund the ongoing operating costs of CCTV cameras for Kai being 726 in the first financial year. To be funded from Parks and Reserves budget.
I've forgotten that bit. My apologies. So I'm going to move and need a seconder. Seconder, Councillor Graham. Any discussion needed? All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Yeah, this time. A reimbursement of community facilities hire and rents. Over to Sharon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, you may want to come up and hold my hand with this one because
Go right, yeah, mate.
he technically wrote this policy. So this one we've given a bit of a rejig because things have just got a wee bit. Well, we've divested some halls and stuff like that over time. So we've actually also from this policy we've removed fees and charges, and that's because we've been seeing that fees and charges being applied for are such that they're over the limit anyway, so they're ending up in front of you. And there was quite a lot of those fees and charges that have to be excluded by law. Yes. So this policy is now simply covering facility hire and rents. And we've given you some options to consider in doing this. So, and that's, if you may want to consider, well, the policy as it's written, but you may want to consider the properties in Appendix A that you are currently reimbursing for. You may want to consider the limit for each applicant, the maximum percentage for council property rentals, and you may want to apply that percentage to projects as well. Or if you would like to amend the budget and the annual plan. Yeah, you have anything to add?
No.
Perfect.
Questions? Councillor Finch.
So back on the recommendations on page 24, on number 4, it needs to be added the acting chief executive, please, and the same on 25, subject to the decision of council staff, blah, blah, as appropriate for the acting CE approval. Thank you.
Councillor Ludeman.
So what happens with fees and charges? That just won't be an option for reimbursement?
Through you, Your Worship. The ones that have been coming to you were it was like water charges at a golf club. There was the money towards the Kai House and land packages, building consents, and they were quite large in nature. So I think they would come under a separate, they would come as a separate report because people would have to ask council permission to get that reimbursed. But I think still we might go back a few more years and see if there was things back there that did pop up, and it might be that we need something to cover that as well. It could be projector hire for $100. You probably don't want that in front of you. Yes, we'll go back and have a look at that, but this is just to tidy this up in the meantime so that going forward you know your decision making.
You used to do this, didn't you? This is what I signed off.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking some questions. So would there be an appetite for not 100% of a reimbursement, say 75%? I look at the amounts have got quite high, and if we look at what we've spent this year or the projected to spend, I mean, I'm not against it, but does it actually hurt for whatever group to have to put in some money? So I'd be looking at an appetite for 75% of the community facility hire phase.
And I want to encounter to that, yeah, let's say I shift down to Stirling and I become part of the Stirling Hall. And we're going to do maintenance, and there's the roof, and there's there's the floors, and there's the everything else. So this is only one component of all the costs that I'm going to be doing raffle tickets and everything else on. I think if we're going to assist these groups, especially when you start thinking of some of the smaller ones out in the district, it's the only thing we actually do for that community as such. And we're going to send them off, tell them to do 2 raffle tickets so that you can cover our cost of whatever. Just seems to me to be easier to make it 100% with and get on with it. I don't know. I don't.
Just a comment. I mean,
Yeah, no.
if you're going to leave it at 100%, you're probably going to have to consider through your annual plan, long-term plans, to actually increase the amount that you budget for it, because that's the other side of the coin. We really haven't had enough budget for it.
It's an onerous task, but I'll go Councillor Finch, followed by McTamaney and Valwela.
And the other thing is, for the halls and things around, the insurance is a real killer for them now. So if we cut this back, it's going to make it even harder. And the line fee charges, it's not just the power they're using, but actual line fee charges. The costs up drastically.
Sharon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just on that, the reimbursement doesn't go to the hall.
No.
It goes to the plunket if they're running an event, but the hall still gets their money for the hire. It's just how much, what council's appetite is for reimbursing the community groups using the hall.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm thinking it's not the hall, the community facilities you're hurting. They're still going to get their funding. And it is a wee bit, I guess, of the groups that are doing the fundraising. But some of the costs now are high. I really think we have to look at it. And without this reimbursement, I know some probably wouldn't be able to use the facility. So it is good that they're using the facilities, but I still...
I'll go Councillor McTamaney, followed by Valwela.
Yes, thank you. Just following on from Councillor Ludeman there a wee bit. So there's a reimbursement limit of $2,000 annually. How many, have you got any groups getting up there?
Yes.
And if so, how many?
Through you, Your Worship, quite a few now, because there's quite a lot of community groups using Tahoe, and it's pretty quick to get to $2,000 if you're hiring a big facility. So like you might have a Rotary book sale over 2 or 3 days, and they'll have the maximum reimbursement, and they'll have other costs as well. But yeah, there is a few.
So that could be something that, yeah, could we alter that limit to reduce it?
That is on your options as well. Do you want to leave it at 2,000? Do you want to alter that limit? But there's a lot of options.
Yeah. Just be interested in the groups that are pushing it a wee bit. That's just where I'm coming from. Some groups I imagine never apply for reimbursement. Others will go for the doctor if you like.
Yeah. And through you, Your Worship, it depends where you live too, because if you live in West Otago, that's a lot of hall hire, or if you live in Owaka, that's a lot of hall hire. But if you're using Tahoe, it's not a lot of hall hire. So you could run a 3 or 4 day event in Owaka, like they just did for this high school, and you're not going to get near that limit.
So I'll go Councillor Valwela, Councillor Catherine.
Yeah, I must admit, I was thinking, thank you, Your Worship, of perhaps reducing that maximum, but then if you've got a facility like Tacoma, then it does mount up really quickly. I just have one question though. One on page 28, it mentions clause 5.4. Is there a clause 5.4?
Yeah.
Wasn't one of them following?
Through you, Your Worship, I'm thinking that's one we've taken out, as we took out when we took out the other fees. Apologies, we'll correct that.
Good spotting, councillor Bold. Where were we? Councillor Cathal.
Through your worship, the first one's probably for Sharon, so being involved with the local Owaka Community Hall Committee. So we've decided as a committee to keep our charges as low as possible as a committee, okay, which then encourages our small groups. They don't ask for reimbursement, they just get on and deal with it. So then I'm opening myself up to go back to my group and say, no, actually, we'll charge more fees because they can get a reimbursement. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm sort of starting to look going, well, hang on a minute, am I subsidising groups? You know what I mean? For a community facility that, you know, like it's all going, oh, I'm starting to think, oh, this is really fair. So maybe we do need to do a little bit more work on.
Through you, your worship, we can go back and look at more stuff, absolutely. Yeah. All the halls do set their own fees, you're quite correct.
Correct,
like
yeah.
The smaller one's more expensive than Owaka, because Owaka is really good.
Yeah.
I got married there.
Yeah. So, because that money comes into our budget.
Yes.
That hire money comes into our community hall budget. There's a penny to drop there, isn't there?
Yeah, your worship, it's not been such an issue in the past because most of the halls have been here or there.
Yeah.
Fees wise, but now we've got a couple of outliers, a couple of bigger facilities that charge more to be used.
So
non-council owned.
Councillor Ludeman, followed by Volwell.
I'd really like to look too soon to try and, I can see that we're not going to do 75% because I can see it's a bit unfair, but I'd like to reduce the amount to say 1,500. The excess to 1,500 because that's not going to affect the whole district badly.
Through your worship, that will pretty much always only affect people hiring 2 buildings in Belglickett.
I think it's a fairer way to do it across the district.
I'll come back to you with that one pretty soon too. But Councillor Volwell, you think what your recommendation is going to be, and then I'll get back.
Sorry, I've just noticed something else on that list of halls on page 30. Sterling Athenaeum is missing from that. So I'm presuming that is still being available for hire.
Right, Ali. Originally, I was going to take them one at a time, but I can see that we might be able to move things along.
I will move.
I promised that I was going to go to Councillor Ludeman.
I was just going to move recommendation 1.
But she might have just mopped the whole lot up. Are you going to mop the whole lot up?
Well, it wasn't. They mightn't agree with it, so I'll second that.
Okay, we're going to move in a second that we just received the report. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Done. Right, now go back down.
So I'd like to adopt the reimbursement of council facility hire and rents policy, subject to the amendment that the maximum amount of a claim per year for any organisation be 1,500 instead of the 2,000. So it's still per year, because it is per year per group.
Your worship, it's per group per year.
Per group per year. That's what it's always been. So instead of being 2,000, it's 1,500.
Is that where you're stopping?
Well, I think that's probably about it. But also, I suppose somewhere in that recommendation that we perhaps need to look at how much we put in the budget for that per year. So whether that's done now, that might be an annual plan discussion perhaps. So if we get the policy kind of set, the actual budget for your hire for your policy could come through your annual plan.
Can I just before I go to Councillor Payne, I'm looking at number 3 and 4. You're not wanting to mock them up.
You know, I'm quite happy to retire that policy And, yeah, no, do three.
And then
Sorry.
number 4,
Yeah.
that the CEO can have a look
That
at
the
standards.
acting CEO,
Okay, so we know what we're talking about on 4, councillor Payne.
I just wanted a little bit of clarification because historically, the 2,000, although we call it a maximum, it's never been a maximum in my mind. It's always been able to come to this table, be discussed and be increased if that was the case. The 2,000 limit was always for your discretion, Brian, I thought. You could say yes or no. And
I got that taken away about 5 years ago.
oh, did you?
Through you, your
No.
worship, it's now written into the policy that it comes as my discretion.
Right.
But if it goes over 1,500, it ends up in this room.
Yeah, so that's the same,
If we
that's
get
what's
an
going to happen now?
application,
Yes.
yes.
And there's still
Yes,
an option
absolutely.
it's a ballpark figure, yeah.
It's something that you're comfortable with staff,
Yeah, that's right.
if all the other criteria are met,
That's
staff.
still there. Still.
I guess if there was a
Still
real
discussion.
one-off, something
Yeah.
that it could, you know, if there was a need.
But like we've had for building consent.
That's right, that's right, yeah.
Can you give me an example of where A groups come back more than once a year for this size? Trying to think, I don't want to skimp them if
Through
it's.
you, your worship, no, I can't really. And that may happen now that we have the 6-month criteria on it though. Because some of them used to say about, we had one from, I work at Catlins Area School the other day, and that was for 2 events within 6 months though. Because they had 2 events within the 6-month period.
Yep. School, Makariki, school, end of year, 2 events, same group.
But it's not
I wouldn't like to
6
skimp them if they're both good group.
Through you, worship, no, they have to make the application within 6 months, but you can, that is in the policy, but that is something you can change right now and say 1 year.
But the amount is for a year, the
Yes,
1,500
correct.
max is for the
Correct.
year, but it's, they have to apply within 6 months of
Each
the
event.
project happen. And kind of that keeps it tidy.
If I can,
Yeah.
just more the point for me was, we've just had a creative communities meeting and some of the fees for Tacoma and other halls that they're using are there. So in some cases, they go well over $1,500, which is, they're fantastic. So the opportunity I wanted to know is if they're over $1,500, can they come here and apply for $2,000? And then it's a discussion and that's a yes vote. That's all I wanted to know. And so I'm happy with the motion.
You can't ask if it's a yes vote.
No,
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. If we give it
This is a
discussion around the table. yeah.
Councillor Herbert.
What Councillor Payne's asking is, are we going to go outside policy once we set this amount? Well, what's the point of having a policy if we're already talking about before we decide it, we're going to go outside of it? So I find the whole thing a bit ironic.
That's what I'm trying to establish.
Yeah. Councillor Catherwood.
Well, I mean, we're in discussion time, but I mean, I'm going to actually go against it because I think there is enough people to have enough information, understanding of the halls that everyone represents within your community, and not actually how it's actually functioning and what's going on. Like I don't want to make a decision here today without having a discussion with my community. Yeah, why is that hall? You see what I mean? That's where I'm coming from.
I just think if you really went back through it, you would find that as far as your community would be absolutely fine. And for what reimbursements your community,
Yeah.
you could almost go back 10 years and I just about guarantee that your community would have never come near in each group that amount. So that's why I say I see it as a fair, still fair, but you have to, it's council funds as well. And
We're going to set an overall budget to the ratepayer.
well, we always do
Oh,
that, there always is a.
Well,
yeah,
it's 15 and we've blown up to 21. So we were rolling.
Stop the blow.
Overall.
Through you, your worship, we'll revisit the budget issue at annual plan time, because if you have a policy and everybody's within that policy, your budget is purely your budget, and if they fit within those criteria, you pay that money. So if you by lowering this, we think that we're not going to go over the budget, you leave it as it is. If you think you are, you can put it up, or you accept that you go over.
So you forecasted 21,000 for this financial year. Is that correct?
That's just prorated against where we're at right now.
Yes.
So we've done 21, the budget's 15.
No, we've done
No, we've done
14.
done 14.
Yeah, but prorated because 8
Two-thirds
months
of the
have
year.
passed.
Yeah, so we've still got, yeah. So you're predicting 21, a budget is 15.
Yeah, but they're predicting it now when it doesn't have it at 15.
I think it's the way it's always been done, and there's a simple way we can bust this deadlock, and let's have a vote.
Yeah.
So,
Come annual plan, it can be changed.
does anyone want Julie to read the recommendations out, or you pretty much got it in your head?
Yeah,
We did. No, we
No.
haven't yet.
Oh, look out, second place, second to councillor McTamaney. We're still, I'll get Julie to read out, just so that.
I wasn't quite sure about the ending after 1500, but that council adopts the reimbursement of community facility hire and rents policy 2025 attachment A, subject to the maximum claim per group per year being reduced to $1,500.
1,500 per year per organisation, or however, I think.
Per group.
Per group.
Per group.
She's got that.
Yeah, per group per year,
Yeah.
reduced as written in the policy.
Yeah.
And then number.
And then the other one is that council retires the policy on reimbursement of charges, hire fees and rent 2022. That council delegates the approval of the necessary updates to the reimbursement application form as required to the, this is what I'm not sure about, is it the acting chief? It is the acting chief executive. Yep, there we go. That's what you're voting on.
Number 3.
Why would it be the acting chief executive? We've always just had the chief executive. If
David
the chief executive isn't here for some reason, he is delegated to the acting chief, but we would still have that as to the chief executive.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter about that.
And then it's in the delegations of the chief executive that will be changed. Yeah, yeah, but if you put acting chief
Yeah,
executive,
exactly.
99% of the time there isn't.
Because in the delegations, it's changed to the acting
Yeah.
chief.
So I'm going to push it to the vote unless
Can I just-
councillor Ludeman's got her 5th interjection in a row.
I just want to close the debate, really.
Well, I already have it, so take it to the vote. But all right, there you go.
Well, my reason for this is that I've watched these fees, as we probably all have, increase over the last 2 or 3 years. And it's been discussed that we need to look at the policy. We're looking at the policy. We have to consider it's a help to the ratepayer, basically, by reducing it, and it doesn't hurt each individual group or organisation that's doing a project to have a bit of skin in the game as well, which, I mean, I guess they do, but we actually have to consider that this is ratepayer funds that we are using to help subsidise hall and facility hires across the district. So I think that has to be taken into consideration.
Right, we're putting it to the vote. Please raise your hands. All those in favour, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
You don't, no? All right.
There could be absentees as well, but we've got them. Not absentee.
Abstain.
You know, I've got one.
And then those against, please raise your hand and say no. And councillor Catherwell was abstaining. We've got more coming. You got from Julie? Thank you. Done. Okay, nuclear. Let's get to the nuclear issue on page 34.
Through your worship, I'd like to just take the paper as read and invite any questions.
Questions, team?
Well, isn't it?
Questions? If there are no questions, councillor Finch.
I'm happy to move recommendation 1.
Second that.
Sorry. And council retire the policy from 2010. We adopt the policy 2025.
Can we do that?
It's got a 1, 2, guess it.
We only want 1 and 2, don't we?
No, it can be or nor.
Yeah, the or is.
So you're going that number 3 or?
Yes,
So it's 1 and 3.
yes.
Okay, so councillor Finch
Sorry.
has done recommendations 1 and 3. Do I have a second?
No. Can we do the recommendation 1 first, please?
Yeah, I think so.
That other way, so then people
Oh, you're slowing things down, I tell you, but
No,
all
we
right.
might not speed it up.
Oh, hold on, actually, I can't. I'm gonna ask for a second, and then I go back to that. I'm stuck. And no, councillor Volwiller didn't. He asked to blow it out.
For one.
Yeah, but you've moved two recommendations. If you don't get a seconder, then I'm gonna go back to you, or go back to something. So for the lapse of a seconder, I now go back and ask for a recommendation. Councillor Finch, you're moving recommendation 1.
Yes.
Thank you, councillor Volwiller, seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
What those against? Now we're doing an either or.
I'd like to move recommendation 3.
Righto, we've got recommendation 3. Ooh, silence in the house. Oh,
I'll move it. Are you?
I don't know, I'm looking for, I haven't said that it's lapsed yet. But it has lapsed, now I'm looking for another one.
I'll move recommendation 2, Your Worship.
Second.
Seconded councillor Payne, was it?
Yeah.
Righto, matters open for discussion. Why wouldn't we, if there is a nuclear-free policy 2025 attached, why wouldn't we take it off? Where's the?
Well, because you're covered.
Just let's carry that out. So if nuclear falls into Kaitanga, are we going to hold our policy and go, excuse us?
That's where we've been for the last
Our national
15 years.
policy.
So you're covered as a national policy.
As again, it's a quirk of history.
It's virtue signature.
Take the papers and bury them in the basement. The law is covered by the.
Thank you, Simon, for speaking sense.
So we've got a 1, no, we've already done 1, we've got a 2.
No.
No,
You've got your
No,
mover, you've got your
it's a
seconder, on the vote.
we've got a 2, another 3.
No,
I'm recommendation 2.
2, yeah, 2. Yeah,
councillor
seconded by
Payne.
Ken Payne. All those in.
We know what done. Let me chair, tell you what, if I chaired the meeting, in a hurry. So we're doing number 2.
Correct.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Thank you. Right.
Councillor Punch was abstained.
We're gonna do them from here on in. You're gonna have to keep up with me because I'm doing the whole lot, moving recommendations 1 and 2. This is pretty straightforward, team, so I
just
move
have a
recommendation
question.
1 and 2.
I have a question
Oh,
first.
righto.
In your, they appoint the trustees, it hasn't got Donald
Yes,
Pearson.
I've realised that when I've put that in my minutes, it was missed off the agenda item.
Okay, that's okay.
I
then.
have got it.
Righto, with the addition of Donald Pearson, I move recommendation 1 and 2. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yes.
Councillor Finch, any discussion? All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Over to the confirmation of 2 council meetings, one on the 20th of February and one on the 20th of March. You'll see them there. I'll take both if someone feels that way inclined. Move councillor Ludeman, seconded councillor Herbert. Any discussion? All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Now I've done too fast to get to the next page. Right. Infrastructure strategy and operations, pages 63 to 66. Councillor Volwiller.
Yes, on page 66, Your Worship, I think there's just in the bullet points there, there was discussion on the following, and I think that should be bridge inspections are completed every 6 years. These require a structural engineer.
What's the first words of the bullet point?
Our principal expectations.
Okay, so you got it? Julie's got it?
With that amendment, I'm happy to move.
So there is no recommendation actually printed on my copy 62. Is there one on yours, or we'll have to specify what the recommendation?
I'll move that we confirm the infrastructure and strategy operations committee meetings.
Could I suggest that, because that's a different wording than what Julie, because she's fair telling me off now. So can I suggest that the minutes of the meeting of the Infrastructure Strategy and Operations Committee held on the 20th of March 2025. So just those words.
Yes.
Done. You know what I mean, Bruce?
Yes.
Otherwise she's going to hit me, I think. So I've got to move it. You seconding, Bruce? Done. Councillor Graham seconding. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Thank you. There is a recommendation this time for regulatory and community committee.
And I've got another one.
Bruce has spotted another one. Tell me about it.
Page 69, it's got the number 2, the community and facilities update. There's a no mover and seconder for that motion or that resolution. And
Spotted.
I did go and spent some fascinating time watching.
You didn't.
YouTube, and it was Councillor Herbert and Phelps who moved and seconded.
Well done.
Of course it was.
This is what we can aspire to when we retire. Well done, Bruce.
I tell you what, I won't be doing this.
I am
when I'm
looking
retired,
forward to the day.
I tell you.
but it is better than most TV.
Right, so we got, you would remember that, Councillor Phelps, of course, why you didn't tell us that. Mr Herbert, you
Yeah.
were missing your memory, but all those in favour?
There hasn't been a mover and a seconder.
Oh, I haven't even got
I'll
that far.
move. With
Move,
the-
Councillor Finch, seconded Councillor
Oh, well.
Phelps.
Yeah.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Corporate policy, same day,
How are
same.
you going to love me for this, your worship?
Oh, you have
Oh,
He's run out of things to
Yeah,
do.
give us something to do.
74, spot the mistake.
And dangerous and
there's
insanitary
no-
be brought forward.
There's no recommendation.
Precisely. And I think the recommendation is, again, from fascinating YouTube watching, is the recommendation that the review of the policy on dangerous and insanitary buildings be brought forward.
Right, where was I? Did I have a mover in a second?
No.
I will now, because Bruce is going to move it.
Well, happy to move it with those.
And Ali's going to second it. All those in favour?
Aye.
We should get a special recommendation in that Councillor Volvella meets the secretary half an hour before the meeting.
I've got to put this before the.
Corporate and on page 77, we've got Heritage Toolkit. Seem to remember this over at the
It's held over from
From the corporate meeting, wasn't it?
righto. Do you wish to speak to your report?
No, it was just a recommendation from the corporate policy committee that the council endorses the material produced and that council delegates approval of the text. Take that report as read.
Happy to move.
Hold on, I better just check questions before we do that. If there are no questions, you're happy to move, Councillor Finch. Seconded.
Stop second.
Standing to second it. Councillor Volwella, all those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, thank you. Now we've got the noting of the risk and assurance minutes. I'll move them. Someone second, Councillor Volwella.
No, just again.
Page
Page 81.
You've got to get it to you.
Oh, watch
he
that on
deserves a
TV.
gold medal
A
for that.
facsimile machine, let's
What
know.
page?
81, number 4.
Oh, it's the same one.
Yeah. He's on a roll, but you are moving it with that amendment?
With the amendment that
That
the
change?
Risk and Assurance Committee receives the risk status progress report.
We're noting
Da,
them.
da, da.
Who was the seconder? Seconder, Councillor Payne, all those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Right, he wasn't at West Otago, so we've got him.
Catch the spelling.
Bruce wasn't, he can't comment on the noting of West Otago, surely.
I've got to watch it on Zoom.
No, you can't.
So we got the noting of the West Otago Community Board meeting on the 5th. Noted Councillor Herbert, seconded by myself. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Lawrence Tuapeka, I was there so I can note them. Councillor Herbert can second them. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Well done. Here is the youth council. Absent. We did. right, so it's just not.
That one you last time.
Okay. So over to my mayoral report, just quickly, obviously there's been heaps of local water done well. I really enjoyed my day with Sir Ashley Bloomfield and his evening presentation. Pretty much it's what you see. It's just been a grind of three waters. And even when you're not doing three waters, you seem to be getting ground by three waters. So that's my report. I'll take questions on mine and all others after we do the round, starting with Councillor Phillips.
Cool. Haven't been up to much, Your Worship. I went to the Ashley Bloomfield evening. It was very, enjoyed his lecture. It was very, very good. Very personal things, but that's about it.
Thank you, Wayne. Councillor McTammany.
As unorganised as usual for this report.
I've scattered just by going the other way, eh?
Yeah, I was trying to look up my calendar, but I can't work out as to what meetings I've been to. So I've been to some meetings.
Don't believe you. Would it assist if I went the correct way? No, we'll keep going. Councillor Finn.
February the 27th, Otago Museum Trust Board, and while I'm discussing that, this is my last term. I have to retire by rotation. I've done 12 years in October, so there needs to be a new person appointed to that, either from here or from Waitaki or from Central Otago. So we have to get that sorted shortly. Somebody needs
Don't we do it post-election? If we can't appoint
Councillor
someone-
Bolweiler made it that I was appointed in January or February, if I remember, but it should be done after the election. Really, anyway, I'll really miss it. So if anyone's interested, it is really well worthwhile. We have a really great museum there. March the 3rd, Youth Council, the 10th, the Dog Park, and then Tauri Mouth Amenity Society. The 11th, Clutha Community, oh, for goodness sake, Foundation Trust meeting, and then that night, Community Liaison at Corrections, and a lot up at the dog park. The asphalt has been all dug out. Unfortunately, there was a concrete base underneath the asphalt that nobody knew of or remembered. So that is going to cost a little bit more than what we thought. It's all been gone through with Mike and them, though, as well as we're doing it. The track into the dog park has been put down, and there's going to be the fencing start shortly. It's been a lot of meetings up there sorting things out. And the 20th, all our meetings here, and then that night, Project Bruce about the pool, and the 25th, this is March, of course, workshop water and the teams, and the 27th, the dog park, and then I've been up there again about 5 times since then, sorting stuff.
There you go, Councillor McCrosty.
Well, I'm looking forward to a couple of meetings and working bees. Youth Council, Water Done Well meeting, OCF meeting, and council meetings.
Thank you, Dean. Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's pretty much the same, really. All the meetings that everyone else has been at, local Water Done Well, annual plan. Extraordinary that is that I've had a couple of meetings at Tacoma. I've been away with Age Concern. Had a meeting with them in Dunedin. Youth Council and Creative Communities. This morning, had a great morning this morning. I went down and emceed in Maisie's absence for job opportunities. They run a session with employers and educators and training providers, and they did a bit of a speed dating thing on how they can better work with Gateway and get youth integrated into work job opportunities in the local area, and it was great, wasn't it, Brian? So,
Thank you. Thank you for filling in this morning at the last minute. It's a big fill-in you have to fill in. Councillor Graham.
Just the usual, plus the water scheme meeting and Kai promo and I attended the opening of the new op shop.
Thank you.
Hey, do you not know about it? It's not get the memo. Don't worry about it.
You're looking well dressed.
Thank you, Bruce. Councillor Harris.
Finished. Thank you, Worship. Citizenship ceremony. The rural water schemes local water done well. This week's Marflat Rural Water Scheme meeting on Monday, and then just last night was the Glenkennick meeting, which is always very interesting.
I can only imagine.
No, you can't.
Thank you for that, John. Councillor Mackie.
I've had the Clinton School Jubilee wash up, Clinton Community Group meeting. I went there as a first responder, and I suppose I had a council hat at the Otago rally that was out our way last week or the week before, which was an interesting day. No events, but no medical needed, so yeah, that's about me.
Thank you, Brent. Councillor Landman.
Meeting here with the rural water schemes regarding water done well. Clutha Parks Trust had some of the BMX guys down and were to test the track before it was sealed. So we now have the new pump track at down at the park, and they're even talking perhaps having an opening tomorrow, aren't they? I'm not sure whether that's progressed or not, but they're ready to basically let the kids go on it. So yeah, it looks good.
It's a fast job.
It was, well, they were ready to start. They'd stopped the contractor, and and it had to be done before the winter. So when the kids had to go on it, they were really impressed. They only changed one corner was a bit tight that they got sorted before they sealed it. So that's really great. Went to Ashley Bloomfield evening, Rec Centre meeting, includes a development meeting and citizenship.
Thank you, Alan. Councillor Volwela.
Thanks, Your Worship. The Rural Water Schemes meeting here on, when was it? Whenever it was. And then 2 meetings for the North Bruce Rural Water Scheme, one on the 25th of February, an ordinary meeting, and then an AGM a couple of nights ago. Tyramouth Amenity Society, 10th of March, the Otago Corrections Facility, Community Liaison meeting, 11th of March. Youth Council, 3rd of March. The 25th of February, I zoomed in on the community housing webinar that Clutha Development held, and then on the 31st of March, I was also zoomed in for an Otago Housing Alliance Zoom. That's it.
Thank you, Bruce. Councillor Catherwood.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, firstly, I'd actually like to apologise to around the table to the rest of the councillors and yourself for my lack of attendance over the past 6 weeks. I've had a very hectic time within my own business. I've probably missed more meetings than I've attended in the last 6 weeks, but last council meeting, my local pool I've been attending, a local hall. I did make the opening night of our 150th for our school celebration. I missed the actual official opening the next day due to work commitments. It's a shame that Richard Davison left the room, because I thoroughly enjoyed the ear bashing from my constituents regarding the ODT article, but luckily I had with me our spreadsheets. So I was happy to inform that the percentages were totally and utterly incorrect, and I had the proof to show the rowdy ones. And then so one other wee thing I did as a councillor is, of course, after our vehicle on beaches discussion at our last council meeting, I have a very strong side of my community that don't want to see us go back and revisit it, and then I have another portion of my community that want us to do something about it. So that particular part of my community from Pippa to Y turned up. We got discussions, and I happily donated. I'm about to put it on a piece of board, and we're going down the route of this. I'm going to try this, and it cost me $50, and I donated it to the Pippa to Y residents. I'm hoping this is going to at least start educating the public. I look forward to the staff reducing the speed limit.
What does it say on the bottom? We couldn't.
She went to Doc, she spoke to the Freedom Camp Rangers. It's trying to keep things as simple as possible.
wildlife risk.
He's looking for spelling mistakes already.
Find up to 200.
Definitely finds a spelling.
Well, that's what we'll be doing.
Well done, Dave.
Yes,
Thank you for that.
$50.
That's great.
And I'll put it on my own board. My piece of board's about $30. It'll take me 10 minutes.
And is it going to be outside your shop?
No, it's for Papua White. It's for those residents. There's two of them.
Okay, team, questions for questions. Anyone got any questions? Rightio, my question to you is, does everyone know it's 119 days until nominations close?
When do they open?
Yeah, I was going to say they haven't opened yet.
So, recommendation back there, I'll move it, someone second it. Seconded, councillor Herbert, all those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Over to our CEO's report, or acting CEO's report, please.
Nothing to say about anything, Mr.
Questions? Councillor Phelps.
Could I ask if you can answer, I'm too sure, the hospital, Creek, Belclutha follow-up flood, if you, was that just anything?
Which date was that?
25th of February.
Yeah, let me take a note and come back to you on that.
No, that would have been Steve. Any further questions, team? If not, we've got a recommendation on 103. Move councillor Herbert, seconded councillor McCroskey, all those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Documents for consent and seal, I'll move. Who's second? Bang. Councillor Ludeman, all those in favour?
Through you.
Oh.
Do you want to break?
Yeah, no, I'm going to.
That's right.
Yeah, once again, I thought I'd do that. If you hadn't asked me, I would have already done it. So we're going to adjourn there now because we're just coming back to